YouTube and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, me and my friend Rachel are going to be addressing some of the stereotypes and misconceptions about going to university in Italy versus going to university in USA. My friend Rachel here is also American, but she studied at university in USA, but studied abroad here at Cattolica. From your experience studying abroad here, in your opinion, what's the best part about studying at an Italian university?
Maybe one of them is the fact that you guys can retake exams over and over again, so that's pretty nice. That's different from us.
Okay, yeah, I've heard this from a lot of Americans, especially when I tell my friends that we can take exams over and over again. They don't seem to understand why, like, we can still have low grades and still be like, you know, you still have like 27-year-olds taking exams from 3 years ago. It's true. We do get multiple chances to take the same exam in a school year or in a given exam session, but there are some exceptions. For example, I know at Bocconi, which isn't true for other Italian universities, if you get over an 18 on that exam, you're not allowed to retake it.
And an 18 is like
the
you guys
minimum.
a C.
Yeah, I'd say D.
D, okay.
Yeah, it's the worst. So like if you get a 19 at another Italian university, you'd be like, you could say, no, a 19 isn't good enough, that's not what I want for my GPA, and you just study harder and retake it again. But at Bocconi, if you get an 18, you're done. If we didn't have that chance, people would never graduate from Italian university because
I've heard of that.
Yeah, the way it's set up, like since your whole grade is based on that one exam, it would be pretty hard if you didn't have a chance to like retake it. The most pragmatic way to get exams out of the way in Italy is to do everything in partials, because then you're like studying less material at a time. And if you mess up, you can take the general. So say you did well on your first partial, but then you completely bombed the second partial and you have to retake it. Then there's usually a general in that same exam session that you can take. There's a big exam session after the first semester and a big exam session after the second semester. So in that big exam session, you have the chance to either pass your second partial or take the general of that first exam session, or take the general of the second exam session. And if you fail all three of those, then you have to do it like
the
next year. But it's nice because, like I said, we don't have like in America where you have like chapter exams and unit quizzes and a lot of things that go into your final grade. We just have one exam. So
and is the exam the same all 3 periods, or they change it up?
Yup.
Okay.
In your opinion, what is the worst part of studying in Italy?
The worst part, maybe that you just don't get a lot of chances. Like you have to do, well, you can take the exams over and over again, but you know, it's a bit harder. It seems like it's a bit more unforgiving.
It is, and you know, a lot of Italians will say that, like, Italian university is so much harder compared to American university, and therefore it's superior. I would disagree because I don't think it's harder necessarily in the material. I think at the end of the day, we're all studying the same things, but it's the way that the Italians choose to do it. The fact that there's only one exam, like, is that necessary?
The curriculum isn't, like, harder, I believe, but like you were saying, it's definitely, I don't know, like, if you only have one exam, are students really learning, or are they cramming? If you have several exams,
exactly, that's just the thing. I feel like the American system is way more active learning. First of all, we have a lecture system, so you go to class and you just listen to the professor talk for the most part. Of course, there are exceptions, but for the most part, that's the way it's set up. Whereas in America, the typical thing is that the class is more of like a conversation between the professors and the students. So instead of just sitting there and absorbing the information, you're actually like asking questions and discussing at the same time. So it's not just passive learning, it's active learning. And then in addition to that, instead of waiting until the end of the semester where you have to study everything right before the exam session, you have like a little mini exam like every 2 weeks. So instead of studying everything at once, you're just studying that piece and you can absorb it and learn it better. So, I mean, even though I have no regrets, I'm totally happy that I studied in Italy, I prefer the American system for this. The way that the Italian system is, it leaves you very little room to do anything else because you're always studying for that one big exam that your whole grade is riding on.
My boyfriend, you know, he went to Politecnico. One thing that he observed during the time that I was studying university is that I was always studying. I always had an exam to prepare for. And in his mind, he was just like, I prefer the Italian system because it's just one exam, you have that period and you get it over with. But for me, throughout the semester, I stress because, you know, I'm every 4 weeks there's an exam, or every 3 weeks there's an exam. And maybe all 5 of your classes have an exam, like, you know, in that same period. So I feel like we're always studying and we have to do things out of class as well, but maybe it's just not the stress of an entire grade riding on this one exam, but, you know, I still feel like
But would you have time to, like, have a part-time job in university?
It depends. It depends on, like, what kind of part-time job, and it also depends on, like, I know some students prioritize money over, like, having to take a bunch of credits. So, you know, I know people that they took 12 credits, which is about, you know, 4 classes, 3 or 4, depending on the course of study, and then they work part-time. I know some people that don't work at all, like if they're doing engineering or science and they just really can't, you know, they do that, but we do have a bit more time, but I wouldn't.
Because I would say that in Italy, it doesn't matter what school you go into or what you're studying, you don't have time to have a part-time job, which is a big, like, detriment. It's not just about, like, you having to support yourself, because you don't have to have a job just because you have to. I think having a job is really important because you get experience working, you get experience interacting with the public, you get experience working in that setting where you have a boss and things that you have to do, and you also get experience managing your own money, because when you make your own money, it's a lot different than when your parents are just giving you your own money. And I feel like most Americans get to have that experience where Italians don't, even if they wanted to. It would be very, very difficult. The only way I was able to was because I was doing tutoring, and that's very, like, flexible. You pick your own hours and it pays very well per hour. But, like, if they wanted to have a part-time job at McDonald's, that's impossible.
I also feel like part-time jobs here aren't really a thing.
They
like
aren't.
There's so many opportunities to have part-time jobs, like, around an American university campus. We had our own, like, job portal, and you could get jobs as, like, in the library, in the media center, and here they're not as supportive of that.
No. Let's talk about some misconceptions for the American side. What would be, in my opinion, the best part of studying in university in America, aside from the flexibility and, like, the autonomy that we just talked about? I would say, like, people think it's way more fun. You guys have parties and Greek life and...
I mean, like, yeah, there definitely is more of a university, I guess, school spirit kind of feel. So people do have parties. There are organizations. You know, we have different clubs. There is Greek life. Not at every American university, though. I think that's, like, a big misconception. A lot of universities are trying to ban Greek life for numerous reasons. And, you know, we talked about this before. If you live in, like, a city, maybe Greek life isn't as important if you go to, like, you know, a more rural school or a school in the country, or, you know, huge campuses like Ole Miss or, like, you know, Florida State. So it just depends.
Right. The biggest con that I think anybody has for studying in USA is the cost.
Yeah, we pay about $30,000 a year to study. And, you know, you can do that in multiple ways. There are people that can just pay $30,000 out of pocket. A lot of people have to take out loans. There's scholarships, athletic scholarships. You guys don't really have those. There, you know, people can get free tuition if they play certain sports or. So yeah, it definitely is more expensive, and maybe that's why we have a bit more autonomy in America, because you're paying for it.
It's so funny because when you're in high school and you have, like, your guidance counselors and your parents, aside from maybe the parents a little bit, I feel like nobody really stresses the importance of the cost of the university. Like, the guidance counselors will just be like, no, it's an investment, you just don't look at the cost, just get into the schools you want. And then you get into the schools you want and you're happy and everything, and then you get that first, like, bill, and I was just like, but I got so many scholarships, why do I still have to pay more? I found that even though I took, like, mad AP classes, I graduated with a 4.2, I got a lot of financial aid, but for every school, that financial aid never covered even half of it. And I don't know, I just feel like it's great that we have sport athletic scholarships, But isn't the whole point of going to school because you have to study and because you're an academic? So shouldn't smart people and people with good grades be the ones getting these full scholarships? I don't know. I always felt salty for that. And
it's a big debate, but athletics bring in money to American
exactly.
schools.
Everything is all
a lot of money.
About money. Everything is all about money.
I think the best part about American University would be the opportunities and just kind of like we talked about the autonomy in classes and the structure. I really like the way that we do lectures. Some of my best classes have been when I could kind of form a relationship with the professor. And then the worst part is the cost. It's really sad when people can't, go to university or take the amount of classes that they want just because of the price. So I wish that we could be a bit better about that.
Right. Yeah, I think that the best part of Italian university is the cost. Like, you don't have to worry about not being able to go to college because you can't afford it.
Right.
In general, there's not a huge difference between public and private schools in Italy, like in terms of the quality of education. And then at the end of the day, if you did want to go to like the most highly ranked private whatever school, it's still accessible.
Okay.
I think that 12,000 euros, which is what the full price of Bocconi is per year for the bachelor's, is doable. A lot of people want to fight me on this, but I feel like, yes, it's hard to have a part-time job during school, but at the end of the day, I'm of the mindset you do what you gotta do. And if you're working and you have like maybe assistance provided by the school, because they have a lot of assistance provided by the school, I have a whole video about this.
Okay.
That's very doable. Whereas in America, to go to the same, a lot of people compare Bocconi with like NYU. Okay. And that was like the other school that I got into that I really wanted to go to, but it cost $60,000 a year.
Yeah, I've heard.
And no matter how much you work or what assistance they're gonna give to you, you're not gonna be able to pay $60,000 a year. So that's the kind of comparison that I get at. And then the biggest con of Italian university is, like I said, the fact that you don't have time because of the structure to do anything else. Like, you don't have time to go out and get like work experience, which you so badly need to enter the Italian workforce. And I'm also of the mindset that university isn't just about studying, but it's also about like developing yourself as a person, experiencing new things, living on your own. And I feel like the Italian university system structure doesn't really go on that. If anything, what I learned from university here was I learned a lot of really good things, like theoretically, like I learned really in-depth about certain like concepts.
Okay.
And I learned how to study those concepts.
Yeah.
But it kind of stops there. That being said, I don't regret anything. I still like really encourage people, especially Americans, to check out their options abroad. But there are pros and cons, like always. But yeah, I think we pretty much addressed everything. Thank you so much, Rachel, for coming on my channel. And as always, you guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Mwah.